East New York and Brownsville combination. The neighborhood was always, it was a great, nice neighborhood, but it was bad people came from that neighborhood. Abe Rellis, they made a movie picture about him, Murder Incorporated. It was the Jewish mafia. They actually, unlike the other mafia that made all that money with territory and all, they killed for a living. Every block had what you call it wasn't gang, we had a club. Every block was different. Every block had like 5 or 6, 7, 8 guys that lived there, and you didn't even know the guys around the corner, you know. But you played ball against each other and all that. It was great because I'm an athlete, and we played punch ball, and we used to make a football out of paper, wrap it around, and throw the ball, and you know. And the streets were not, you know, cars weren't big those days, so. The streets weren't, the cars never got in our way for playing ball. My father was a very successful band leader in the Jewish field. My brother was the Art Blakey of the drum, the greatest Jewish drummer ever lived, and played the heck out of the xylophones. He used to play, I couldn't understand how he did it. He would bend notes like a clarinet player. I used to try to look, how do you do that? And my both sisters played, but not good, not at all. My brother was professional, so was my father. Xylophone, because my brother had it at the house. In fact, when he wasn't home, I'd sneak around and play it, you know. But I started studying about when I was about 11, 12, about then. But I was like sort of a child prodigy. I picked up songs I played, my first song I ever played was The Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I learned that on my own, and you know, because those days the radio was big. Big bands were in. It was big bands were the pop music of the day. What they call candy stores, what you call ice cream parlors, they had a jukebox. Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Jimmy Lunsford, all the big bands. Singers were not in them at all those days. The singers were part of the band. Frank Sinatra worked with Harry James. He worked with Tommy Dorsey. Well, I wanted to be a boxer too. It was a couple of, I boxed in the Army, and I was really good. But you know what it is? You don't develop, but I think it happens. What is it, peripheral vision when you see that? Playing vibes, you see that whole instrument. When I boxed, like I can stand up and show you, when I boxed, if you're going to throw anything, you got to move your, if you want to get any power, you can't stand there and do this. You got to move this, and the moment I saw your left foot twitch, I knew something was coming from the left side. So I was a good defensive fighter. The guys I used to love were guys like Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis. They were my friends, by the way. Sugar Ray and Willie Pep. Sugar Ray Robinson and Willie Pep, because Willie Pep never wanted to get hit. He was called the Will of the Wisp, because you couldn't see him. I was stationed in Louisiana to start with. I was a tank driver. You know, when I went in the Army, first of all, when I was 15 years old, I worked in a summer resort. And the trumpet player, his name was Abe Cohen. He went to school with, I'm not sure if you know the name, Bernie Glow, and Stan Fisher, and Shorty Rogers, and all these guys, they all went to school together, but he was the best one. In those days, you turned 18, you went right in the Army, you did your 3 months basic overseas, immediately to Germany, you know, fight Germany. He got killed immediately. And so, I wasn't a hot-headed kid, but that got to me so bad that I didn't want to go into a band. And it would have been easy because I play all the percussion instruments, you know. So the hardest thing in the world is to try to do something bad if you know how to do it. You know, they wanted musicians, they wanted to put in the signal code, because those days you had the Morse code. So they give you a test, you know. And when they did that, I went, I wanted to fail that test so bad. I screwed up. They thought I was a complete, what kind of musician? Because this guy's probably the worst thing living. So I was a tank driver for about like a few months. And then unbeknownst to me in the Army, they, my name is Gubenko, Private Gubenko. And they took me out and another guy, and they sent us to Dallas, Texas to audition. I auditioned with 100 other drummers because I was a drummer those days more. And because in my younger days I played with big band. You mentioned Bobby Sherwood and you mentioned Carl Saunders. And Bobby Sherwood, I played with big bands. And the Army I played when I was auditioned and got the job. I played with a 38-piece orchestra playing drums. In fact, there's a picture of me by the drums right there, older. That I posed for to get my drummer who worked with me a drum set. Tiny Khan, who I grew up with, my best friend. We were together from 6 years old until he went in the Army, day and night, because nobody would play with him but me. We looked like Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre walking down the street. He was 6 foot tall, but he wasn't fat, he was big. Like Sidney, he was big, and I was about like 4 foot at 9 and weighed about 28 pounds. So when we played games, he couldn't play. When one time he hit a baseball over the center fielder's head, and they threw him out of first base. It took him a half hour to run to first base. He was so big, But he was my best friend, and he was the most talented of all of us, by the way. If you ever talk to Johnny Mandel and ask him where he learned how to arrange so good, Tiny Khan. You talk to Al Cohen, Manny Album, where they learn, Tiny Khan. Talk to Mel Lewis, how'd you learn how to play the drums like that? Tiny Khan. Oh, he started a style that Mel Lewis picked up on and then learned, and Jeff Hamilton is playing that style. A lot of the guys, Frank Capp, but these were the guys who were the mavens. They really had it down.